Welcome to Yelling Into the Void, a podcast discussing and exploring topics in World of Warcraft. I am, as always, Tevin, joined as always by Scott, and there are still a ton of interviews happening around midnight, Scott. So
Yeah.
I need you to go pull some strings, call up Ian. You said a couple weeks ago that you have him on speed dial, so can you get us an interview, please?
Call Ian. I don't see an Ian in your contacts. Shit.
Well,
Shit.
what'd you do? Did you piss him off?
Apparently, my phone just removed it. So I will keep working on that. I have my ways. Which
Yeah, I definitely need you to pull some strings at Blizzard so we can get a couple developer interviews,
Yeah, and maybe some alpha access. That'd be good.
Alpha access would be nice. I can't believe Ian didn't just give that to all of his friends initially,
I know, it's really rude of him.
But, well, Scott, for this week, I think it's just mainly going to be a continuation of what we had last week.
Yeah.
So there's not much of an introduction needed to be had here, I guess, to give you a little overview of all the things we are going to cover, at least the things I think we're going to cover. Is we are going to talk a little bit about Legion Remix, some dungeon changes that have came into Midnight, and big news, the Midnight dungeon list has been revealed. Midnight Season 1 dungeon list has been revealed.
We didn't get to that at all last week.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if it was even revealed by the time we recorded.
It was, yeah. That's something that came out.
I dropped the ball on that one then.
I noticed it wasn't on the list. I just figured we have so much other stuff to talk about. We'll get to it later. Considering we won't be playing these dungeons for another 3 months, I think we have plenty of time to talk about what the dungeons are.
Well, we do need to start off not talking about Midnight. We're going to take a little bit of a break. We talked about Midnight in the entirety of the last podcast. We're going to talk about it the majority of this one, but we need to take a little bit of a break, and we need to address Legion Remix. So you and I both didn't really play Mop Remix that much, and I think we both now have a maxed character on Legion Remix.
True.
And are hitting the end game, or what is supposed to be the end game for Legion Remix. I have my thoughts, but I'm going to let you take it away first.
Yeah, first of all, I decided to level a healer, which was, in retrospect, a very poor choice. Turns out, in the world of Remix, nobody takes any damage, and therefore healers are completely superfluous. Actually, what my experience was, so they added this new heroic world tier thing in Legion Remix, which is just basically it makes the open world harder. And that was a bad choice for healers. It's just like everything takes forever to kill. It actually does a lot of damage, actually. And it just makes it kind of not fun. But that's like if you're maximizing efficiency and rewards, like you want to be playing with the heroic world tier thing on. I got to 80 still. It's really quick. Like I didn't even play that much and got to 80, and it gets quicker for all your other characters. It just never stopped being quick. So there's not a lot to complain about that. Like I think the questing was enjoyable. I think the thing we're experiencing right now is the end game of what Legion Remix is going to be. And I don't know if I'm vibing with it. So I've ran a couple raids. I've been doing dungeons, and basically you get to end game and you just do the infinite research stuff over and over again to keep getting more and more powerful, to do more and more stuff and get more and more things. And the gameplay loop, at least in Remix, doesn't feel that appealing to me, especially when I was playing healer, because like you'll go into a raid, there's no reason for you to be there, or at least as healer. Like I should probably just queue for healer and then play a DPS spec, because no one's taking any damage. It's nothing. So I'm not like sitting here thinking I'm gonna like go super hard into Legion Remix at this point. I have a few goals I want to accomplish in the game, just because there's some transmogs, some gear sets, and some druid forms that were available in Legion that I never got, that I would like to have. But other than that, I don't know if I'm going to be like doing like what some people are doing, which is pushing real hard. People are doing 30 plus keys already. It's kind of crazy, actually.
Yeah, the highest key timed on Legion remix is the last I checked was a 52.
Jesus, and this is only the first phase. It's only going to get more ridiculous from here. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So I think predominantly what has been decided is tanks are the most broken thing in Legion Remix right now,
yeah, oh
doing
yeah.
absurd damage and never dying. So I think that is just the way to go if you are jumping into Legion Remix right now.
Yeah, I
If
mean,
you're playing a class that has a tank specialization, I'd do it.
that's basically what I'm doing. So I got my druid to 80. I'm not like a lot of people are handling this thing differently, right? Some people are like leveling up one character and going hard to the end game. Some people are just using this as like a way of leveling characters. Of course, there is a reward every character you level, you unlock a fell version of their class mount at level 80. You can just buy that for bronze, so you don't have to level characters to do that. But I think as the experience gains really start to ramp up, that might be might actually be the most efficient way to get those mounts instead of farming the bronze to get them. Um, I'm definitely not interested in like leveling multiple characters in this. I have all the characters I want to play at max level already anyway, essentially. Um, so I really just want to mess around and stuff. And so I'm just switching to tank because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to stay on a healer and do that. So I'm just switching to
Mhm.
tank and I'll be able to do all the things that I need to do and be happy that way. So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. So I ended up getting my character to 80. I haven't really played since. I just like,
I mean,
I don't
it
know.
is
The gameplay loop is not enjoyable
it's
for me
not
right
like
now.
that. It's really interesting because like obviously we play this game and it's not that the gameplay loop in retail is like super dissimilar to this. It's just like challenging. And I think I was underselling how much the challenging part of it is important to me because the thing that I enjoyed about leveling in Legion Remix is that it was like super it was just super casual. I was just kind of figuring out the systems as I was going. I didn't really understand like what is the best of the artifact path to go down. I just kind of picked one and was enjoying it, and it was just like super chill, and it's fun to like go back to the hub and get all these quests, and it's just fun to get that much experience. And then I hit 80 and it's just like you just see what the game is going to be at that point, and it's just
Mhm.
like do I really want to do that? do I
Yeah.
want
Do I
to
want to log in and do Emerald Nightmare twice every day
Yeah, no,
or three
absolutely
times every
not.
day?
Yeah, I ran an Emerald Nightmare normal, and like everyone in the group as we approached the end of it was like, we're doing heroic and mythic after this, right? And I was like, Jesus Christ. No, I'm out, I can't do this.
Yeah. It's a lot of repetitive stuff. And like, I don't know. Like you said, the main game is repetitive, but it feels so different. I don't know if it's because like the repetitiveness is like, literally do the same raid over and over and over again every single day,
Mm-hmm.
or like it almost like the way that it feels to me. And I don't know why this matters, right? But it feels more like dailies and just doing like daily shit
Sure.
that I absolutely hate doing more than it feels like playing the damn game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's easy. It's mindless. Like right, like a daily is a mindless task that is the only thing there is time. It takes time to do stuff, and these raids are essentially that. Like I'm not even that well geared. I think I have just under 600 item level. I haven't even started unlocking the thing that just lets you advance forever once you get to the end of the path. I haven't even started unlocking that, and already, like I haven't done any mythic raids yet, but I've done heroic raids. I've done um, normal raids, and it's already a joke. It's already a joke to everyone that's doing them. It's just easy. And so like I mean part of the fun of remix is that it's easy, right? I get that.
Mhm.
And so I'm not saying they need to fix this by making this hard. That's not what I'm saying.
No.
What I'm saying is easy plus repetitive for me means I lose interest very, very quickly. And
Yeah, no, this is not something that needs fixed. This isn't something that they need to look at. This is just something that's not for you and I.
yeah.
It's like PvP in the main game.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
it's just not for us. So
Yeah, yeah.
if that means you and I don't interact with it and don't play, that's fine. It doesn't mean that all of the people listening to this who love Legion remakes are wrong. It's
Yeah.
just this isn't our game.
No, it's just yeah, it's just I don't know. I don't know if I thought that I was going to like get into it or not. Like I don't know what my thought there was. But I have not. So
Yeah.
that is the way it goes. Um
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna level up another tune or maybe two and see how I'm feeling. I'm gonna try tank. I'm gonna try a hunter because hunter is always my fallback
mm-hmm.
class. And see if I enjoy that more. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's a very good chance that I just put this down and say, it was a good shot. I tried it out, but it's just ultimately not my speed.
Yeah. And to be clear, it's it's I think it's a cool game mode. And I think I like that they're doing things like this and they keep exploring them, and like I had fun with it while I did it. Like it was a fun handful of days there where I just spent that time um messing around and leveling a character. Like that's another thing that I had not done. I don't know if you like I have not leveled a character from 1 to max since the new talent system came in. I just
Nope.
hadn't done it. So it was fun kind of getting to see that like that progress of actually like getting a new level, and every new level I get another talent, and like I hadn't done that since the Dragonflight talent. So that was fun to do. But I mean it's fine. It's fine ultimately.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me that is cool is it's allowing people who never experience these stories and these raids to experience them,
Yeah.
albeit at an extremely fast rate. But like the way you level in retail now is like you do chromie time, and if you're following a speed running guide, like you jump around all over the place in chromie time.
Mm-hmm.
If you're just a normal player getting on and playing, like you're gonna pick one storyline and you're gonna level through that, or you're gonna be forced to do Dragonflight. So like if you don't pick Legion, you just don't experience the story for Legion. And
Yeah.
so like
Yeah.
there's the time walking or the lore walking stuff and everything like that, but I think that this is a cool idea to allow people who haven't experienced it, haven't gotten like the toys and the mounts and all of that stuff. Like the whole point of this is to get cosmetics. It's not to be difficult. So if you're a cosmetic hunter, this is probably like right up your alley. So
Yeah.
definitely be looking at that.
Have we have we talked about the oopsies they did? So we
Like the
talked
power level gear or whatever.
no. I mean, so we could talk about that, but what I was talking about was the druid and cat forms.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I think we talked a few months ago about the announcement that they're not going to let you um, get any of the mage tower weapon appearances or druid forms in Legion Remix, which was a very controversial decision, and people were pretty upset about it, myself included, because the second they announced Legion Remix, I was like, oh great, this is a chance to get all that stuff I missed when I didn't play the game. And so I was pretty disappointed about it. And then when the game came out, people found that those forms were granted to them immediately upon making a druid in remix. You just made a druid in remix, logged into the game, you had access to those forms, and your retail druid also had access to those forms, myself included, by the way. I think they're going to take this away. So they already took away the cat ones. I still have the bear forms. Nobody tell Ian. I still have the bear forms currently. I think those are eventually going to get taken away as well. But I just think this was very funny that this is like the one thing that happened was the thing that everyone was asking for, and they didn't give them, and then they accidentally granted it. Oops. Very
I'm
funny
just
stuff.
saying, Scott has already used one of these bear forms in a key that we did the other day. So, like, he's already abusing the system.
Look,
So,
it makes me
everybody
feel
go after him.
important and like I have accomplished something. So
Yeah,
uh
what'd you accomplish? You
I
made a character
I got
remix.
I got the werebears. I got them. I was so good at the Mage Tower 10 years ago. Can you believe Legion was 10 years ago? I
No,
mean,
I
I didn't
can't. I was
obviously didn't
talking
play
with
the
my
game,
buddy.
but yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, I was talking with a buddy, and I just casually said that to him because he's like, "Yeah, I think the last time I played the game was like Legion or something like that." And I was like, "You realize that was like 10 years ago?" Like, And he was like, nah, no way. So yeah, that
Yeah.
was very interesting to realize. Like, doing the math, you just sit there and you're just like, okay, 2 years and then another 2 years and another 2 years. And it's just like, that adds up real fast.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It does. It's crazy. It's absolutely
so,
crazy.
so I guess the only other thing with Legion Remix that's kind of changed right now is Mythic Plus dungeons. I don't exactly understand how this was working, so if you do, explain it. But the best way that I understood reading the post was you would do a Mythic Plus dungeon and you would be given gear that was higher item level but didn't necessarily have a level requirement. And so you could wear extremely high item level gear on a low level character and just like use that to just power level yourself.
So no, that's not quite how it worked. So the way Legion Remix works is the gear that you get dropped out of boxes is basically set to be around the item level you were when you received the box, not when you opened the box. This is an important thing to consider. You can't like save a box you got at level 1 when you're level 80 and then you'll get higher item level gear. It's the item level is saved from the moment you received the box. And that's true for all gear in Legion, and except for some reason Mythic Plus gear. Mythic Plus was the only exception to that, where Mythic Plus would always drop, I think, 670 loot, no matter what. No matter what. So a way to power level people was to get 4 really geared people and a fresh 80 and do a Mythic Plus and basically funnel that gear to the fresh character. It was the only
Gotcha.
way for that fresh character to get gear that high, because every other way it would be averaged out to a little bit higher than what their current average item level was. So they fixed that. That was broke. That was abusable and was being abused. So they fixed that.
Well, that makes a lot more sense, because when I read it and I was like, I guess, does it really matter? Like, you're already one-shotting mobs in the open world with all of your like power scaling.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
like,
a good question to this change even is like, who cares, right? Like it's Legion Remix. Like, who cares if 4 people can power level someone to that high level of gear? It doesn't matter. It just like I really think it's interesting. Like, they did this during MOP, and we didn't play it, so we didn't really experience it. But they had like the frog farming thing during MOP, where people found all these very very efficient ways to farm resources in the game, and every time they found a new one, they like immediately nerfed it. It was like, no, can't do that, no. And it's just like, guys, the whole point of Remix is that it's broken and ridiculous and doesn't matter, right? Doesn't matter is the point. It's like, there's no accomplishment to doing a mythic dungeon or a mythic plus. Like, people are doing plus 50s. There's no accomplishments to be gained in this game. That's part of, like, the accomplishment is just the transmog and the mount. It's just like anything else doesn't matter. And so just let people be ridiculous with it. Like, who cares? Like, everyone's freaking out right now, as you said, because of the tank thing. And yes, maybe they need to make some changes to make other classes, other specs usable in this game. But I don't think they should do that by like pulling tanks average power level down. It's just make DPS stronger, make healers stronger. I don't know what you could exactly do there, because the reason why tanks are so much more favored is because the stuff does hit really hard, and tanks have basically infinite self-sustain, and because they can also do a shit ton of damage, like, there's no reason to not run anything else. If you can do as much damage as a DPS and also have infinite self-sustain, why would you not do that? So I don't think they need to change that by nerfing tanks in Remix. I think they just need to adjust some of their classes, maybe give them some more stuff, maybe add some more like self-sustain abilities to like DPS or something. I don't know. But don't fuck with this too much, y'all. It's supposed to be fun, right? It's just supposed to be silly fun.
yeah, that's the thing that I was gonna say the most is, like, if you're having fun in Remix, then that's the end goal. So I don't think Blizzard should be messing with that too much, and I don't think you should really care too much what's contributing to that fun. Like, if it's fun, it's fun. Continue doing it. Like, that's the whole reason I played Plunderstorm, right? Like, Plunderstorm to me was just a good time,
Yep.
and all it gave me was cosmetics. So yeah, I just, if it's fun, it's fun. Play the game mode. It's fine.
My favorite thing, though, about all the class hall. So I never have like played through the full plot of Legion, but I did some of the class order hall stuff because I wanted the glowy green bear. I wanted that, and you have to do like a lot of the class order hall stuff to do that. But of course, in the main game, you get to the point where you have to run all these missions from the mission table, and you have to get all these factions. And there's this wonderful thing that Remix does wherever you get to one of those quests, because the quests are still in the game, but the Bronze Dragonflight just goes, or the Infinite Dragonflight just goes, let's just skip past this one, and
Yeah.
it's delightful, and I love it so much.
Yeah, there's one voice line where it's just like skip, and it just I cracked up a little bit when I was
Yeah,
playing through.
it's great. It's great. So yeah, I think it's successful. I'm a little. So I don't know how you felt. Maybe it was just unreasonable expectations, but I was a little disappointed by their implementation of the artifact weapon version. Maybe it was just I thought it was going to be. So when they first announced it, I kind of thought the thing would be different for each class, like it was in Legion, right? That like as you leveled up the weapon, each weapon had its own path and through it and its own abilities. And like, I guess I just kind of assumed that was going to be the case here, and it is not, right? It is the same. Every weapon has the same path. You basically choose between one of the 5 abilities and level down that path. But ultimately, I that's fine. I was just like, oh, okay. Well, here's something that they did that I'm very thankful for. They did not make it so, as I mentioned, I'm switching to Bear from Resto right now. They did not make it so all this crap I've earned for my artifact weapon is not transferable to the new artifact weapon for the different spec when you get it. So that is all.
Oh boy,
It is all transferable. Thank God. I would have
you
quit.
should have played Legion at content.
Yeah,
It's not transferable
of
there.
course it's not. Of course it's not. But that was then, and this is now. And I would have just quit. I would have gotten my bear gloves, open it up, and saw that none of my thousands of whatever it's called apply, and said, "Okay, I'm done."
Yeah, I was a little bit disappointed to find that out. I knew going into Legion Remix it wasn't going to be that way because I had read up on that a
Mm-hmm.
little bit when they first announced the trees. I was like, "Oh, this looks really cool. This is like kind of reminiscent of what it was in Legion. Your
Mm-hmm.
weapon has its own talent tree." And then I read a little bit more. I saw that no, this is actually just going to be everybody has access to this tree, and this is essentially your cloak from Mop Remix. It's the source of your power this time. So yeah, I don't know. I was a little bit bummed, but I kind of expected it, so it
Sure.
didn't hit me too super hard when we were messing around.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a big deal, but it's just again, expectation versus reality. Sometimes you set yourself up and then disappoint yourself, and it's all your fault.
Yeah. I guess the last thing that I wanted to say about Legion Remix is if you are planning to level a character, definitely try to do it through Remix instead of leveling it through the retail version of the game right
Oh my
now.
god, yes, it's so fast.
They also added a button. I haven't tried it yet, but it seems like you can pull your characters out at any point instead of having to wait until Remix was over, like you did in Mop. So that's even more reason to level in Remix instead of outside of Remix.
Yeah, definitely. Especially if it's like once you level one character, your next one starts with like 90% increased experience gains or something ridiculous like that. Like I said, I haven't leveled another character. I don't plan to. Although, man, maybe with the simplification of DPS classes, they're making them so easy now. Maybe that's easy enough for even me, and I'll give it a shot. I don't know. We'll see.
They're not easy yet, though, Scott. What are you going to do?
We'll just get them prepared for midnight.
All right. I don't have anything else on Legion Remix. I did just want to take a little bit of time to talk about that because you and I played around with it a little bit, and it is new.
Yeah.
So let's jump back to midnight
Okay,
because it's
we're back.
midnight season and midnight this, midnight that, midnight this. And so I think the first thing to start off with is there has been a lot of announcements around things that are happening to group content, specifically dungeons, is where I'm going to put the focus on for this. So the first thing I'm going to cover is not actually a specific change to dungeons, but it is rather just a change to the game as it currently stands. And that is One thing you and I have talked about ad nauseum is the annoyance of stops in pug groups. And
Mhm.
so they have changed DRs for stuns specifically so that there will never be a space or a spot in which you go to stun a mob and it will not stop a cast. The stun DR will get to a specific threshold and then it will stay there at until it gets its DR reset, but it will always get stunned, even if it's only like a micro stun. So it will always stop a cast. No more will you shockwave something and half the mobs just won't stop casting.
This is such a good change. I'm so happy about this.
It is an amazing change, especially for pug. Like for pugging specifically, like this is going to change so many things because we were in a pug last night and we were doing floodgate and trying to stun the spinning things right before swamp face, and we had a warlock, we had me on a warrior, and we had maybe another warrior, I don't know, we had essentially 3 AoE stuns. Maybe it was a demon hunter. Nevertheless, they got stun DR'd. And so, like, I shockwaved, somebody else stunned, we had another stun, and then I went to go shockwave again, and they were completely immune to stuns, and just nothing happened. And so, like, we're never going to be in that situation again.
Mhm.
And God, it's going to be great.
It is very good change. Very good change. The other one I don't see here on the script is they changed the spell lockout time
Yep.
on kicks for NPCs. So this is something actually they changed. I think it was back in Dragonflight. They reduced it. It was 8 seconds. They reduced it to 6 seconds, and now they're flipping it back. And I think they said this was primarily a PvP change at the time, but it really wouldn't affect you too much in PvE. Wrong. Having an additional 2 seconds before the thing can cast again, I think makes kick rotations a lot easier. It just is gonna make the game a little bit easier, especially when
Yep.
your restoration druid is losing his kick. So you're not gonna have that anymore. You're gonna need this.
So I think there's a bunch of positives to this. So the first thing is, like you said, kick rotations are going to get easier. What they're actually doing, rather than like 6 to 8 seconds or anything like that, is they are just adding 2 seconds to whatever the lockout of your interrupt is.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
mages counterspell have a longer lockout than anybody else in the game right
Mhm.
now. There's a couple people who are tied with them, but so that is just going to get an additional 2 seconds on top of it instead of like kind of homogenizing everything. So either way you look at this, it's going to be a good thing because kick rotations are going to get easier.
Mhm.
You also have to remember we're going to probably lose. Well, we're definitely going to lose the weak aura that tracks spell cooldowns on enemy nameplates. And so that's going to be something that you're going to have to make sure like that's got to be in the back of your mind because that's going to be one of the changes going into the new season. So
True.
having an additional lockout if you were to kick the wrong thing might give somebody else enough time to then get their kick up so that they can kick the right thing. But no, I just like all in all, I don't see how this is ever going to be a bad change. Like both
No,
of these changes are extremely good.
no, definitely not. Good call. Makes sense, and I'm glad they did them.
Mhm.
Maybe should have done them much sooner than this.
Maybe they should like make stuns stop recasts as well. That'd be cool.
Oh yeah, I think the game would just be better if you did that.
I feel like you and I have said this so many times, and we've had so many comments of like, "Well, it's not really that bad. Just get good." It's like,
Okay.
but it's annoying.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's that bad or not. It's
Yeah.
just fucking annoying.
Whatever. Yeah. I mean, ultimately, like, I actually hope where the game goes is it goes into a direction where that we stop complaining about that because it doesn't matter anymore.
Mm.
But we'll see.
Yeah. So as far as other dungeon things that we saw, there was an interview done. And I'm blanking on who did the interview. But anyways, Ian was directly asked about a few things with the new dungeon system that they did as far as like lever penalties and stuff like that. And then he was directly asked about kind of the population healthiness of tanks and healers. And so to cover those responses a little bit, essentially what he said is the team is 100% aware that there is a lot of information overload for tanks, and they don't exactly know what to do to resolve that right now. And they have like floated around potentially like giving rewards to the tank role, kind of like the boxes for queuing, stuff like that, to try and incentivize more people to tank. But none of them have really like landed well with the team. And so as it currently stands, I think the hope is that the simplification of kind of tank classes, and maybe moving away from needing 500 million add-ons to actually tank correctly, will open the doors to more people tanking.
It might. I think the trying to reward people on the back end is not addressing the root cause of the problem. It's just trying to deal with the symptoms of it. So I don't think that's. I understand why they said, "Hey, that's not really it." Yeah, I mean, just like it's a lot of stuff you have to do. It's interesting, like to say like the tank simplification, because they're kind of trying to simplify classes across the board. They added a new talent for Guardian Druids. I was looking at this week, that is like really kind of complicated actually, and seems to go against what they were saying. Is it adds other stuff to track. It's like a roar that you do that allows you to thrash, basically double your stacks of thrash, and then at the end of its time period, it turns all the stacks of thrash you have on the mob into damage. And so it's just like another thing to juggle in all your stuff. And I'm like, okay, I thought we were moving away from that kind of stuff. I mean, that sounds like a cool ability, but like in a world without weak auras, that just seems like something that's going to be kind of a pain in the ass to track, and also to line up with your cooldowns to make most efficient use of it. But anyway,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, it's just it's not even the class design themselves. It's just like this is a role with a lot of responsibility. They're saddled with the most responsibility in the group, and they have the biggest pass fail mechanics of anyone. Like if a DPS fucks up, they do a little bit less DPS. If a healer fucks up, maybe a couple people die, or one, or like maybe there's some deaths or whatever. If a tank fucks up, he's dead, and then everyone's dead. Like that's just. And so this is a game in which people feel social pressure and social anxiety. And so getting a number of people to take on that responsibility to themselves is a lot. So I don't know how exactly you solve it, except by like making tanks. I know the one way to not solve it is what they did at the beginning of this expansion, which was make tanks weaker. That is not the way to solve that problem
Mhm.
whatsoever. And I'm not saying they all need to be like incredibly broken and strong, but I think allowing them to make mistakes that don't result in instant death is something that needs to be addressed. However, they do it.
Yeah, the other thing that I think for tanks is like routing. I think routing alone turns so many people away from tanking, because they get to an end of a dungeon, they don't have enough count, and they're like, "Oh, I messed up somewhere." And then, they're just sitting there worried, like you said, there's social anxiety with this game. And like, what happens when you get to the final boss and you've got enough time to kill the final boss but not an extra trash pack, just because you decided like you decided you missed something that you were supposed to pull with something else. Like,
Yeah. And goodness knows, like I'm just as guilty of this as anyone. Like when I'm running with a pug tank, I'm sitting here talking to myself or you, like, what the fuck's wrong with this guy? What's he doing? What's this route? Why is he doing this? Why is he pulling like that? Oh, like we're as guilty of this as anyone. And it's just like it's a lot of pressure on one person in the group, and it's like it just kind of became that case that like because you're the one pulling, because you're the one setting the pace of what is pulled and when, the expectation falls on you to plan the route, and that's not fair. And in like an organized group of 5 people, you kind of collectively talk about the route beforehand, and everyone decides this is what's good, here's what we can handle. But that's not how pugs work. And once again, the majority of people that interact with the system interact with it via pugs. And so
yeah.
I think it needs some help in that regard. Again, I don't unfortunately that's a thing that doesn't have a quick easy solve to it, right? Because like
Mhm.
you can solve the routing problems by just making dungeons a linear experience where there is no differentiation in what you pull, but
Wall to wall.
nobody wants that, right? No, like I doubt anyone actually wants that as a solution because it's boring and crappy in Final Fantasy. But how do you solve it? I just I don't know. So that's a tall order for them. I think incentivizing players to go to tank via like making the class powerful and feel powerful and fun and like up their damage. Like I don't understand this whole thing about like needing like DPS players are going to feel jealous if the tank does close to their amount of damage. Like first of all, nobody listens when DPS players talk, so just don't do that.
Rude.
But just do it. Like we need more people to play tanks. It's obvious. The way to do that is not to make them less powerful. If like even if it's you're not making them more powerful from a survivability standpoint, but they just do good damage, like people are going to be all about that. And I think that's how you get people back to it. And I know like I we talked about this already, but I unfortunately picked the worst season to try tanking, season 1 of The War Within. Probably not the worst season in the history of the game, but certainly the worst season in its current iteration to try this, because that was a season with tanks were nerfed going into it, and there was a lot of heavy tank damage in all of those dungeons. So it gave me a bad taste in my mouth. You know, if they fix some of that stuff, they make tanks more powerful, they give them a little bit grace. I'm not saying I'm like switched back to full-time tank, but I'd be willing to like stick my toes in the water a little bit. So yeah, I mean that's how you do it, I think.
Yeah, probably something like that. I will say their philosophy on why healer population is lower is not necessarily the same as what they said with tanks. Exactly, like I think verbatim what Ian said was they are hopeful that the slimming down of the complications around like understanding how to heal is going to really help. And then that coupled with the fact that they're trying to smooth damage intake and make unit frames, party frames better, will like stop turning people away from healing. Because when I think the thought process is if you want to heal now, you not only have to go in and level a healer and understand exactly what you're doing, but then you have the whole secondary mini game of like setting up your healing add-on and making sure that that's working correctly. And then you have to go in and you have to figure out damage patterns, but in Mythic Plus, you don't figure out a damage pattern until you get to a point at which you can't heal it.
Yeah.
And then you can really start to figure it out. So I think that the thought process that Ian had in that interview makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
As far as healers are concerned, I think that that's a lot more in line for healers, and a lot less in line for tanks.
Yeah, I think that's very true. I think that everything he said there is entirely accurate based on my experience, that the idea of you are playing the unit frames game in a way that no other role in this game is. So if you do not have good unit frames, I don't think you can do that role very well. I really do want to meet a person that is currently playing a Resto Druid with base in-game like unit frames, because I please tell me how you do it. And the answer probably is they're not like doing upper echelon content, because like I even think like 12s. So we pushed a lot of keys last week. We were doing like 14s. And then this week with Remix out, we were trying that, and with Turbo Boost on the horizon, I really just did 12s to complete my vault. And man, those things felt easy, at least from a healing perspective. They felt very, very easy. So the honest truth is you can probably get away with it in up to 12s of minimal stuff. But I mean, there's another problem with healing that I think is, we talked about this last week about how like we don't know any of the changes they made to healers in the alpha right now. We don't really know how those are working because nothing in the alpha requires healing. And this is again another problem that I don't know what the solution could possibly be, is because something that you said is like healers don't really get a chance to practice until they're on the thing that like kills them and wipes the group, and then everyone's like, what the fuck, healer? Like it is, I think tanks have a similar problem too, where it's like a certain ability you can survive without using a personal up until the point that you can't, and the only way you know that for sure is by not using a personal and dying to it.
Yeah.
And the same thing with healing is like even like normal dungeons, heroic dungeons, even mythic zeros, even like +2s, +3s, like these dungeons really don't require much healing if at all. And so you could be playing your spec completely wrong, but just doing enough to limp through, and you wouldn't know it. And I think the reducing the complexity of the of healing does help address that a little bit, because one of the big things that they're doing is so many classes have so many like stacking modifiers to make your heals actually do things, and you're playing a game of setting up this and this and this right before damage so you can do big bursts of damage. And that's a gameplay mechanic that I think is very fun. That's like I don't think you can play Resto Druid without the idea of ramping being fun to you, but like a lot of the healers are doing it now. Like Mistweaver is really bad, and all these different amps they have that they have to lay down before damage, and they're getting rid of almost all of these things. And so like that is very good, because again, it puts a lot of the strength back into your base kit, and not just I need to press 6 buttons before regrowth will actually do good healing. And that makes it a little more user friendly and allows people to maybe pick up and try it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So the one question that I did have for you as far as like healing is concerned is, I think that all of this comes with the assumption that the current player base um, is either going to try out one of these other roles if they're not already doing it, or they're assuming that there's going to be a large influx of new players. So I don't really know. Like, I think that the logic is sound. I just don't know, like, how are they convincing DPS players to change if they're already playing the game, or are they just expecting that they might have an influx of new players since they're simplifying things?
I don't know. That's a really interesting question, because a lot of, we talked about this last week a little bit, but a lot of the changes that they're making are are designed to make WoW a welcoming new player experience, right? They're redoing the new player experience process generally in the next few expansion or next few patches, and they're also trying to make the game much simpler for a new player to digest. And it's like a fair question on that strategy is like, how many new people do you think you're going to get for a 20-year-old game?
Hmm.
I- I'm I'm sure there's a large contingent of former WoW players out there who have quit the game for one reason or another. Maybe these are people who have quit the game and then come back to play Classic, and they're thinking maybe they could cannibalize some of their Classic players. But that doesn't result in any increased revenue if they do something like that. I think there's an opportunity to maybe bring some people back to the game, but like fresh, like brand new players, I just can't think they expect to get that many of them. Um,
Hmm.
I think you could. I think they're like, if you look at housing is definitely a statement to maybe bring some people back to World of Warcraft that haven't played in a long time. And if you couple that with, oh, by the way, you don't have to worry about these add-ons anymore. We solved that problem. You just need this, and this. They're all base game. If they make the raid unit and they say also the classes have been scaled back a little bit, we got rid of some bloat. There's not as much complexity in the thing. That does maybe not. Maybe it's wrong to say new player experience, but more returning player
Sure.
experience.
Yeah, I was also thinking too, like housing in and of itself could poach a lot of people from Final Fantasy. Like
Yeah,
it could. So,
true.
uh, but that's my skepticism kind of leaking in, because like I said, I think that Ian has some solid viewpoints here, and I'm hopeful that everything works out the way that they intended to. But we are going to have, like, we still have to play the game around, like, people have to want to heal and tank in the first place, like.
Yeah, yeah. There's always, I
So
mean, it's always going to be a specific type of person that chooses to tank and heal versus just do big damn. Like that's always going to be a different type of person. And the game has basically survived off the fact that you don't need as many of those people. You need 2 for every 3 of the other people. And I think it'll probably continue to limp along that way. Like let's be honest here. We've been talking about the concept of like tank shortage in World of Warcraft since the beginning of time. This has always been the case, and it probably always will be. I think there are ways they could make it better, and I hope they continue to try those. But yeah, I mean, like, this is not a problem that is easily solved, or like we have some great knowledge on the correct way to do this.
Mhm. Yeah, and you're never going to. Like,
Yeah.
it's just, yeah, it doesn't take any research time because you're never going to figure it out.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all right, Scott, last thing that I have planned, but I have a feeling that this might take us a little bit to cover because
Oh boy.
I have a lot of thoughts about some of the things that we're about to talk about.
Okay.
And that is the Midnight Season 1 dungeon list has been revealed.
That is true.
And boy, oh boy, am I both extremely excited and extremely terrified at the exact same time.
Oh boy.
So I want to cover Algathar last because it is probably the one I have the most feelings about.
Okay.
And for that reason, we're just going to say, I think blanketedly so far, there are 4 midnight dungeons. We don't know enough or anything about them currently. And so I will name them right now, but there's nothing to talk about. I think we just table those until we see them in beta or something like that.
Sure.
And then we can go over those. So those are the new Magister's Terrace. There's a like Mysara Cavern or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Nexus Point, Zenus, I
Yep.
think.
Yep.
Yeah. And then Windrunner Spire.
Mhm.
Those are the 4 that are going to be in season 1. And honestly, like, I'm kind of excited for Magister's Terrace, but the rest of these, absolutely no clue what to expect. So we'll see how those go.
I think that's them getting around the idea of calling this a new dungeon when it's literally an old dungeon that they're just redoing.
I like, is it just being redone, or is it
I mean, essentially, we can treat it as an all new dungeon. Like anything.
Yeah.
And I don't even know. Like, they're probably going to change the map. So a lot of what they do with these dungeons that are coming back, which we're going to talk about one of them in a second, is it's when they mean the dungeon is coming back, they're really just taking the map and the art assets, and then basically everything else has changed. That's historically what they've done. I think with Magister's Terrace, the difference between that and one of these coming back dungeons is, my guess would be, they're also going to completely redo the map as well. It's not going to be the same map, is what my guess, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, and it's definitely going to be more of like a midnight themed kind of thing too,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is the
yeah.
other thing. Like with these other dungeons, I think they're going to try and stay true to what they were prior, as far as like mob types and stuff like that are
Yeah.
concerned.
It's gonna be the storyline of Midnight. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So first one, I think let's start with Seat, and then we'll do Skyreach, and then we'll do Pit, and then we'll do Algathar, because I
Okay.
think Pit and Algathar probably are going to generate the most conversation.
Okay. So Seat is a Legion dungeon. So I did not do it. I've never done it.
Mhm. I think that there is a lot of hesitation around Seat, and that being said, I think that hesitation is probably well placed, but for the wrong reasons right now.
Okay. Explain.
Seat was not necessarily a beloved dungeon in Legion, and the reason for that is, at the time, Seat was kind of just a harder dungeon comparatively to the rest of the dungeons in the pool.
Gotcha.
And it was still in the time in which you did dungeons the entire seat, like you did all of the Legion dungeons every single season of Legion, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
people were way more comfortable with the other Legion dungeons in there. And then Seat came in. It was this new dungeon. Nobody knew what they were doing. It was a little bit harder. And so I don't think that there was a ton of good perception around it at the time for those reasons.
I gotcha.
That being said, I don't necessarily think Seat is going to be that bad. I think of all of the Legion dungeons that have come back so far, this might be one of the ones that they have to do the least kind of tinkering around with. And that's because it was the beginning of like kind of the new dungeon philosophy at the time. So I think this might take a little less tinkering than something like completely blanking on Halls of Valor did.
Gotcha. So this is this fitting thematically in your eyes? Like, does it make sense why they brought this one back?
Oh yeah, you fight a fallen Naru in Seat.
Oh, did you?
So
Oh, this is a spoiler thing we can't talk about. Did you see who the final boss of the raids are in Midnight?
uh, I did see those.
I'm afraid to actually say things because last time people got mad at us for spoilers, so we won't actually say them. But if you're curious, just look up. We learned this from the Dungeon Journals. Who the final boss of the 6 boss raid is, and then who the final boss of the 2 boss raid. So
Mm-hmm.
some interesting
Well,
things there.
can I just say spoiler warning and then say a couple things about it real quick?
I mean, I guess so. We've already talked about it. So yes.
Well,
So I guess skip ahead like 30 seconds to a minute if you don't want to be spoiled on this game.
yeah, I would say probably 2 minutes is safe, but spoiler warning. The first one that I noticed on there is Luara is on there, which is actually the fallen Naru that you fight at the end of Seat.
Yeah, so we're essentially going to be fighting the same boss twice in this expansion in this first season. Yeah.
Yep. And then the other one that I saw on there, I think is the one that you were thinking about, is Illyria.
Yeah,
is one of
Illyria is the
bosses.
final boss of the 6-man voidy thing. But it seems like, just from what the Dungeon Journal says, it seems like it's more of like she's kind of lost her way and we're not going to ultimately like kill her. We're just going to save her from herself type thing by battling her until we remove the corruption of the void, whatever.
Man, when have we ever killed a Windrunner?
That's true. But it is not Zalateth in either of them, right? So like they're not doing the thing they did in Legion with what's his butt. So,
but all right, we need to get back on track because I told people only 2 minutes, so I think we're well within our timeline right now.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Spoilers are over at this point. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that's kind of what I think about Seat. I think Seat is definitely fitting thematically.
Okay.
The next dungeon, however, I don't necessarily understand how this one's fitting thematically, but I'll take it nonetheless. Skyreach is coming back. Not necessarily my favorite dungeon from Warlords. And the Warlords dungeons they have brought back so far have been extremely easy besides Everbloom.
I mean, and Everbloom even I thought was easy until like Everbloom just got impossibly hard at a certain point.
Yeah.
Like Everbloom was very easy on lower keys. It was just that one, the second boss. I can't remember which one that was. Second boss.
It's the second boss.
It just got impossibly hard at like the 25, 26 range. That was rough. Too many kicks that you had to do. And the penalty for missing them was immediate death.
Yeah. So have you ever done this dungeon on time walking?
On the Skyreach? I have, yeah. For whatever reason, this one I did a lot on time running. I don't know why. Or time walking, whatever.
So, do you have a theory on like why this one fits in?
The only thing I can think of is that it's a spire, and Windrunner Spire is one of the dungeons we're doing. That's all I can think of. I don't like thematically. I have no idea.
Yeah, unless like the bird people that I can't think of their name are going to be some sort of like major players in this expansion.
I don't see that happening, but
yeah,
I've been wrong
I don't
before.
see how this fits in at all. Like they kind of did some like voodoo ass shit in Warlords where like they were like going into the realm of shadow and the void and stuff like that, I guess. So maybe that's why. But that's like not present in the dungeon at all.
Yeah. I think it's literally just because it's on top of a spire. Like sometimes they try to be very close and thematically close as possible, and then there's always like a dungeon or two that you're just like, what? Like I think that was Theater of Pain last season, right? We had this big goblin themed season, and then also Theater of Pain, and it's like, well, why? And I think we even reasoned, well, maybe it's like, like there's that big called the Crucible of Carnage theater in the raid, so maybe that's what they're doing. Um, yeah, I think the best I have is that Windrunner Spire is a dungeon, and so it's matching to that.
Gotcha. Well, I I don't have much to say on Skyreach because, to be quite frank with you, it's a very linear dungeon where I don't think that there's even any sort of like routing coolness that you can do. There might be some like gate skips and stuff like that, but as
Mhm.
far as like mobs you're pulling and shit like that, unless they drastically change it, like there's only one way to get to the first boss. There's two ways technically to get to the second boss, but it's like, do you want to pull the right staircase pack or do you want to pull the left staircase pack? And then you're at
Yeah,
the second boss. The third boss, there's only one way to get to him, and you got to pull everything before you fight it. And then the fourth boss, again, it's one of those decisions. Do you want to go right or do you want to go left? But it's just one staircase and you've got to pull everything. So it's an extremely linear dungeon.
yeah.
I'm not super thrilled about that. I like a lot more open dungeons that give you kind of the flexibility to decide what you want to pull. But yeah, I just don't have a ton of words really to say about Skyreach.
Is this how many warlords? I feel like we've done so many warlords dungeons at this point. Are there any left?
So we've done Everbloom, we've done Grimrail, we've done Shadow Moon,
We
and now
did,
we've done Skyreach.
and then the one with the boat. I forget what, Iron Docks.
Iron Docks,
Yeah.
yeah.
What, that's got to be almost all of them. Is there any more?
Yeah. What all is left? That's a good question. Let me see if I can find it real quick.
I just wonder if that's like the one we've dipped back to the most.
Yeah. It feels kind of like it. Legion has had a few now too, right?
Yeah. It looks like Blood Maul Slag Mines we have not done. Auchindoun have not done.
God, it would be terrible.
But I think that's
it.
I think that's
Oh,
it.
Upper Blackrock Spire, if you want to count that, was a redo of a dungeon.
I don't know if that counts.
Yeah, Auchindoun, dude, if they make that a Mythic Plus, I'd be interested to see how that one goes, to be honest with you.
I mean, they're like, I feel like they're going to have to. Like, we're about to talk about Pit of Sauron here, and like they kind of said at the beginning that they were never going to go back that far, and now that they've reversed their decision here, and I think it's just literally because they're running out of dungeons. They have to do like 4 returning dungeons every expansion.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're just gonna eventually like run out of dungeons. There's just not enough dungeons in the pool to go back to without like reusing ones pretty recently after they've been used.
Yeah.
So I think,
which is probably why we're getting Algathar.
yeah, I mean, they basically have declared the fact that 2 expansions ago are now fair game. So you will never, we have never seen a dungeon from the previous expansion in the pool from the current expansions. But once you get past that 2 expansions ago, completely fair game.
Yeah. I will say if Blood Maul Slag Mines comes back, that would be cool. Because you come into the dungeon and then you have a choice on what boss you want to fight first. You can either go left or you can go right. And then you have to go back and kill the other one before you can fight the third boss. So you have a decision, like, do you want to clear all the way around the circle or do you want to like clear backwards kind of thing? So that one might actually be interesting, routing wise. But yeah, Auchindoun, that's another just linear, you have to pull everything in front of you dungeon. Like there's no skipping anything in that dungeon. So I'm not a fan of that either.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Skyreach is out of the way. Bosses in there. I guess we'll see how they go.
Yeah.
I think the third boss and the second boss are probably going to be the most annoying in that place, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Pit of Sauron.
What a choice. What a choice here.
Don't know how to feel about this at all because I don't particularly like this dungeon now, and I didn't particularly like it in Wrath. But some part of me feels like of all of the Wrath of the Lich King dungeons, this one might actually have been the best for them to pick as a Mythic Plus dungeon.
Okay.
I don't know. I feel really weird about it.
Well, it is open, right? It is wide open.
Yeah.
The initial area is wide open, so it allows for interesting routing, which is always, I think, a positive in our minds. Um, it does have a very interesting like last third, right? There's a um, kind of a gauntlet that is the final boss, I think. Um, I don't know. Okay, so here's the deal. It's just like we were talking about. This is essentially going to be a brand new dungeon, except it's going to reuse the map and the assets, the art assets, and maybe even some of the vague ideas of bosses. But that's
Yeah.
it, right? And actually, I think the first boss had like a very modern technique at the time, where the first boss you got like a stacking dot on you, and you had to line of sight the boss with those big boulders to drop the stacks of your dot. That was like a very like bosses and dungeons didn't do those kind of things in Wrath of the Lich
Yeah.
King. So that was like a very new idea. And like, I think they will completely redesign that boss, but I think they will maybe redesign that boss with that central idea of line of sighting the boss with these rocks as a way of doing something as like the core mechanic that they surround the design around. So like, I don't know. I think it's been very hit or miss, right? Like the Cataclysm dungeons we have, which is the earliest we went up until this time, were it was gosh, uh Vortex
Vortex
Pinnacle,
Pinnacle.
which is bad, and then it was Grim Batol, which was bad. Is that the only two? No,
No.
Throne of Tides, which
Yep.
wasn't bad. I didn't think that was that bad. Um,
Yeah.
but like the reason, okay, so the reason why Grim Batol was a bad dungeon had nothing to do with the place that it was in Cataclysm. And the reason why Grim Batol ultimately was a bad dungeon is because they put too many fucking caster mobs in it that just like destroyed your characters. So like that has nothing to do with picking. That has everything to do with the design decisions in the moment. So like I look at something like this and I'm like, I don't think there's anything inherently like bad about going this route and taking an earlier dungeon. I want them to
Mhm.
I want them to get classic dungeons. Like I don't know how they could do a Dead Mines Mythic Plus. I think the dungeon's too big, but like, wouldn't it be cool to see them try? Like, I think it
Mhm.
would.
Yeah. So the reason I was saying like I don't particularly like this dungeon and everything right now, but it might be one of the best choices for them is going based off exactly what you just said, in that this is one of the only like open dungeons. Like dungeon design back in the day, for the most part, like was very, very linear.
Yeah.
And it is not like exclusive. There were open dungeons,
Mm-hmm.
but like when you think back and you think of like doing Scarlet Monastery Graveyard, like you have one hallway you can walk down, you have one room you walk through, you have another hallway you walk down, and then you're in the graveyard. And now you get to the end, and sure, you can decide if you want to pull some things off to the sides or whatever, but then you're in one mausoleum and you have to get to the bottom. Like everything is very on rails, and Pit of Sauron has the opportunity for you to do things in a different order than
Sure.
what is like maybe the perceived intended route.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I I think that that is the reason I'm a little optimistic about this. All of this is all just going to boil down to how do they implement the trash, how do they implement the bosses, and I think the key part is how do they handle that gauntlet that is technically a part of the final boss leading up to the final boss. Like, is that going to stay? Is it going to go away? Is it still going to be counted as part of the boss fight? And like, if you die, you're going to have to like redo that whole thing. Like, all of these questions need to be answered. And I think that that's ultimately what's going to decide if this dungeon's good or not.
Yeah. I think you're right. I am choosing to be optimistic because I actually think I think a lot of the Legion, or sorry, the Legion. I think a lot of the um Wrath of the Lich King. There, I got there. I think a lot of the Wrath of the Lich King dungeons were very like thematically and aesthetically cool.
Mhm.
Especially those three that came with the Ice Crown patch. That Pit of Sauron was one of them. I think they're really cool, and I think there's a lot of opportunity here to play in that space and create something very exciting and new. So, I mean, as always, we'll put this with the caveat that execution matters. How they execute on this is going to matter how this Dungeons ends up doing. But I look at that, and my gut initial reaction was excitement.
Yeah.
I was like, hell yeah, I'm into this. Let's do it.
Yeah. Well, I want to see what they do. I want to see what they do with that gauntlet. Like, I I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I feel like that could very easily be the like make or break point for the dungeon.
It could, like, if it's not fun, like they have a bad track record with these kind of special event gauntlet type things in Mythic Plus, right? Like, we will never forget the candle, the Dark Flame Cleft minecart stuff, which I ultimately didn't think was that bad at the end of the day. It was okay. It wasn't great. I think people probably overreacted to it when they first saw it when the game came out and said, "Oh, this is going to be the worst in Mythic Plus." And there's always those things in new dungeons where people are like, "Oh, this is going to be the absolute worst in Mythic Plus." And I think about half the time they don't end up being as bad, and then the other half is City of Threads, and everyone was right about that one. But I think that actually, if I look at this from like a developer's point of view, I look at like the idea of starting with that idea of, oh, this third boss was like actually very special because it was this really cool like gauntlet, this really stylistically and thematic and powerful gauntlet, and being like, you can't keep it the way it was, but does that give you some ideas for some fun thing you can do in a boss that we maybe never seen before? And like, that's exciting. Sure. That's really exciting. So
yeah,
again, we'll see how they pull it off, but I'm pretty pumped about it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I 100% with you. I'm not going to harp on it too much because that's like my overall feelings are the exact same as yours, where I am optimistic and excited for this. But there's like that lingering skepticism. I don't think it's ever going to go away.
Yeah. How are they going to fuck up our boy Algathar, our favorite dungeon?
This is by far what I am the most terrified for. Like, when I saw Algathar on this list, like my initial reaction, I felt like was going to be, oh, hell yeah, we're doing Algathar Academy again. But my initial reaction wasn't that. It was, oh no, Algathar's on here. And that's not because the dungeon's bad. It's because every time they bring back a dungeon, they change something. They change something about it, and they just make it like, it feels like they always just make it fucking worse. Like,
yeah, well, what? They do it in a way that's like, you just ruined what people thought was fun about the dungeon is the weird part. Yeah. Like, they did that with Halls of Atonement, and I will give them credit. I think Halls of Atonement has now, at this point into the season, got back to a place where it, I think, feels actually very close to what it was. I don't know if you agree with that or not.
Yeah, I do.
I certainly feel like, from a healer perspective, is like, I feel like I'm playing a healer in Shadowlands again, because I just get to like DPS my way through entire bosses. But I think they eventually got it back, but the original changes, they ruined everything that people liked about that dungeon. And I think the same thing with Necrotic Wake. And so I think there's definitely a valid concern that you look at what everyone loved about Algathar Academy, and here's what everyone loved about Algathar Academy is that big first pull in the tree boss area. Everyone loves that pull because you basically get to pull everything in that area, and then your numbers go really, really high, and it's really fun, and everyone loved that. And the first thing you're thinking in your head is, how can they change this to fuck this to make it so you can't pull it all at once? And I don't know why. Like, sometimes I question, like, what is the driving factor that makes you make that change? Like, why do you want to do that? Like we played that dungeon for 2 seasons ultimately. And it was that way for both of those seasons, and it was fine. It was like, why do you have to change that part of it? So, and maybe this is all overreaction, right? They might not change it at all. I don't know. Yeah. I do think there are things they need to change in this dungeon, probably. I still think the Veximus boss, I still think that boss sucks. I do not enjoy that boss. Actually, everyone hates Croth, and I actually really, really like that boss. I think that boss is very fun from a healer perspective because it allows you to like very strategically plan how you do things. The trash between those two bosses, though, I think needs some work. There's was it the scepters that will just fucking
Yep.
destroy you? That kind of stuff needs some work. But
Yeah, if you don't kick them, you're dead.
yeah, and that's the type of thing where with the new philosophy, maybe that is something they ease up on a little bit. They don't cast it as often. It doesn't do as much damage. That kind of thing. I don't know. I'm with you though. I'm with you on the thing of like they're gonna totally fuck this thing up for us, aren't they?
Mhm.
And that would make me very sad because, like you, I really, really, truly did love Abathar Academy, and
I think that this might be the best dungeon that they have ever created since Mythic Plus has come out. Like, it is that high up on my list of dungeons to do with a Mythic Plus timer. Like, it is so good. It's just so good.
it
Like,
is. It is
here's
definitely without a doubt the best Dragonflight dungeon, right? Like,
yeah,
and it's not even particularly close.
no, not at all. uh, here's my biggest fear. My biggest fear is well, aside from what you said and them fucking up the first poll, but like every single time they've brought back a dungeon that people have liked, they have also like increased the amount of count you need to do.
Yeah.
And so like
Why?
what are
Why?
they going to do? Like are they going to make us pull all of the trash before the final boss? Like that is one concern that I have is like we're going to go in here and we're going to end up having to pull a bunch of shitty packs that are ultimately going to like make us like even if they don't fuck up the first pull and they just make us fight a bunch of more shit and we're fighting things that are awful to fight,
Yeah.
it's going to kind of sour the taste of the dungeon. And like I don't want that to happen.
This is very fair. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why. Like, their decisions to like fuck with pull counts. I don't. I agree with you. I don't. I don't understand. I don't understand where that comes from. And maybe I'm saying this like maybe because it's a newest dungeon we've have come back. Maybe that's not something they need to do, but it's going to be just as old as the Shadowlands dungeons were when those came back. So yeah, I don't know. I think I'm gonna choose happiness, and I'm gonna choose to say that they know why people love this dungeon. And so in their planning, they are not going to fuck it up because they know why people love this dungeon. That is what I'm going to choose to believe. And only time will tell if I was right or not.
Yeah, I do think with getting rid of weak auras, um, they need to really seriously take a look at Veximus and the overlap that Veximus has on his like third or fourth
So
cast.
stupid.
Like that is going to murder people without any indication that it's coming.
Yeah. I hate that. I hate that boss from a design perspective. I just don't think it's a well designed fight. I don't like it. And I eventually got to a point where I could heal it okay, but man, that was a crash course coming from Shadowlands into Dragonflight and that boss. I was like, fuck, this game. This between that and Ruby Life Pools, I was like, oh, they want me to do work now. Okay.
So my only other question on Algathar for you, Scott, is do you think they're still going to let us get the stat boost at the beginning?
Yeah. Why would they not?
I don't know. Why did they make it to where in Mists we could still open the like Night Fae gates, but in Halls we can't control the dudes? Or in Necrotic Wake we couldn't get the buff from the golems.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But those were weird because those were all like covenant specific stuff, and the Dragonflight stuff is literally you can pick any flight, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's like yeah, that's just flavor. I don't think that would remove that. I really
I
don't think
hope
they would.
not, but I could see it. I can see it happening.
Yeah, I mean you're not wrong.
But no, that's like the list of what we have. And again, I think that as far as the returning dungeons go, I am least excited for Skyreach. And that's just because that dungeon's just always been kind of meh. but maybe it'll come back and it'll be good. I mean, I was a pretty big doomer when it came to Grimrail Depot, and that dungeon came back and kind of fucking slapped. So I'm
Yeah.
not going to complain too much.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that. Having never done it on any level of difficulty at all beyond face roll, like I don't really know what to expect from those bosses. But they didn't seem like super fun. Again, I think they're probably gonna have to redesign some of them, but
they're going to need to change the visuals on the first boss. He summons these like wind tornadoes that are incredibly hard to see.
yeah,
And I cannot see that flying in the current development kind of landscape that
Sure.
we live in with this game.
And I'm sure they'll do that. That's something they, at least the past couple patches, have been showing that they're ready and willing to do is make some of the visual noise easier to parse. So I believe they'll do that. Yeah, I mean, I look at this list. Obviously, we have the 4 new ones. Don't know nothing about. I never did Seed of the Triumvirate, so that's essentially brand new to me. Pit of Sauron is going to be essentially brand new to everyone. Algathar is the best dungeon of all time, so I'll always be excited about that. And yeah, so I think, but kind of by default, Skyreach is the one lowest on my list. But again, having never done it on anything remotely challenging, I don't know, maybe it'll be cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Skyreach does have 2 bosses that have forced downtime for DPS players. So there's DPS players who are going to be pissed off about that too, I'm sure.
Of course, yeah.
But I don't have anything else as far as like the dungeon tier list goes. The dungeon list goes. I think that all in all, hopefully optimistic, as is normally kind of our stance when they announce these dungeon tier lists.
Yeah, I mean, I like, I don't know. I feel like sometimes there's like this expectation that like we have to fucking destroy these people for their bad choices. And I just like, I don't know. I just think being optimistic about stuff is more fun. And I'd rather be optimistic and disappointed than super pessimistic and then get to go like, aha, I knew it the whole time. I told you this was gonna be bad. I don't want to live my life that way, and so I don't want to approach my games that way. So I choose optimism.
I will say there are a couple of things in Seat that are a little scary. There are. Do you remember the cats from Court of Stars or like the lynxes?
Yes. Why do they love those fucking mobs so much?
There's mobs like that in Seat, and I could see those potentially being a real big pain point in the dungeon where like any good player doing, high keys is going to dodge the ability. But anybody not doing those is going to eat it, and eating 2 of them might kill you. So
yeah, well, I mean, I think it's the same old thing of like, how well do they telegraph the bleeds, and like how well will the uniframe show which characters have bleeds on them and that kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
Because that's all I'm thinking about from my perspective is like, if these people are getting jumped on, but I can't tell how many stacks of bleed they have to know how much help they're going to need. Like, that's going to suck. Like, it all comes back to the unit frames once again.
It also, like, the bleeds might not kill you as fast, right? Because they're trying to slow down damage. So it might not be as big of a deal.
True.
So.
Yeah.
But yeah. I don't have a ton else for today, Scott. Like, I feel like there's still so much that we want to cover. I was going to talk about the housing PTR testing. I was going to try and get some of that done today, but they ended up delaying that today.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not a thing. But that's coming up, and I will hopefully, whenever they do release that, at least play with it a little bit so I can let you guys know how I'm feeling about it.
Sure. Yeah. I had a couple of things I wanted to talk about.
Sure.
The first is, in the interest of saying we're not always being kind and considerate to Blizzard, we didn't talk much about the Apex talents conceptually. I think we talked about it when they were first announced, and then we really didn't spend any time last week talking about them. Now that I've seen them, I don't know. Like, I feel like they're kind of lame. I feel like it's just kind of, I don't know. It's just kind of it's like, it's more talent points, but it's like not. It's like, what it feels like to me is remember in the lead up to midnight, we were talking over and over again about how, like, how are they going to do this? Like this seems to be this huge problem of how they're going to continue to give us new talent points and new things without leading to the same bloat that ended up causing them to reduce the talent trees in previous expansions. And like, we just couldn't come up with a good solution. And when I look at Apex talents, I'm like, oh, neither could they.
Yeah.
Because it just to me feels like a thing that's just like, like, I guess it's kind of cool. I don't know, like, maybe it's just a bad taste in my mouth because the Resto Druid one is life bloom based, which is interesting, but what it does is like awesome single target healing. And I'm like, okay, does that help me? Like, does that mean I'm not going to take my Apex talent and raid and I'm going to use those 4 talent points somewhere else? So I don't know, just like hero talents was like exciting, right? Like even if I think hero talents like I'm kind of mixed on the execution of them ultimately. Like, it was cool. It's like your spec, you're going to get to be like 2 different types of things, and you're going to just lean into one of the identities of your spec a little bit more, and conceptually that's cool and exciting. And they're like, Apex talents, it's just 4 talent points that might be really good for you or maybe not. I don't know, maybe I'm just being too negative. I don't know.
No, I think I'm 100% in alignment. The way that I feel about Apex talents is I don't get why they're their own little like area of the talent tree. Like,
And I don't know if
they feel like they should just be attached to the talent tree at this point. Like, it
yeah,
should be a decision whether you want to take it and then just like plop it the fuck on there, because they're nothing special, to be
yeah.
frank. Like, they give, some of them give really cool abilities and really good visual flair, but like, so do some talents.
Yeah.
Like, just put them on the fucking talent tree. Like, let's be just frank. You made 4 additional talents, and some of them are kind of lame. It's just
Yeah.
what it is.
And it's like, I'm hoping that the current like look of them in the alpha right now is temporary, and they're gonna make like an actual like pretty thing for it. But right now it just looks like 3 talent nodes kind of just like tacked on the edge of the. It looks weird and bad. I hope that's just a temporary thing. But yeah, I'm just like, I'm not jazzed about these in the way I was like, oh, hero talents. And maybe we don't have to be, right? There's like plenty of other stuff coming in midnight that like ultimately the talent part of it is not as important as perhaps we thought. But it's a little eh.
So how would you feel if we went into The Last Titan and we had no talent like additions per se? Like, the talent tree itself looked the same,
Mm-hmm.
but all they did was just like change some talents around, maybe like remove some talents and add new ones, or like rework them or something, kind of like they're doing now. Like, would that be okay? Would that be enough of like a in between expansions change?
I don't know. I mean, maybe. I think it depends, right? Like, I think it's all like what you get elsewhere, right? Can maybe make up for that in this instance.
I feel like that's the solution to like talents, is instead of constantly feeling like every new expansion we have to add something to the talent tree.
Yeah.
Instead of doing that, we just, every new expansion, we take a deep look at the talent trees, remove some things that are never taken or some things we think are convoluted, rework others, and add things to fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
Like, I think that might be the way that they have to go with this in the future, because this like arbitrary feeling like they need to tack on a few extra talents here, a few extra talents here, maybe add another row to your hero talent. Like, it just feels so like just for the sake of saying that they added something when they could just do that in a different way.
Yeah, I mean, like, you're right. Like, this again, hero talents seem like this was an idea we had for the expansion. Like, we're going to do hero talents. And then you look at Apex talents, and Apex talents are like, we have no idea. We just need something. And that's not great. That's not great. And I certainly would prefer the latter over the former, or the former over the latter rather. But like, I think we've quickly run into the question that we had there, which is like, you run out of runway with that very, very
Yeah.
quickly. And so it's like when they announced the system, you know, they announced a talent system, they're like, this is going to be evergreen. And that was my immediate question, is like, how is that possibly true? Like you
Yeah.
can't, it can't be. And then like, the War Within came out, and I was like, oh, they solved it with this hero talent thing. That was it's a clever way of adding new talents to the talent tree without actually just making the tree ridiculous. And then here again, we have Apex talent, and it's just like, yeah, it feels like a stopgap. And like, I agree with you. Like, if they do like the same thing again in the War with it, or in the Last Titan, I'm gonna be like, guys, what are we doing? Like,
Yeah. To be very clear, I am more okay with the Apex talents and the way that they're doing that than the just artificially adding fucking 3 things to your hero talent that you're just going to get as you level up. Like,
mm-hmm.
I actually hate the fact that they just decided arbitrarily they were just going to add another column to every hero talent. Like, that just seems so half-assed a way to deal with that. That
Mm-hmm.
it just like, it kind of just rubs me the wrong way.
Sure. Yeah. I agree with you. Like, even if I'm a little disappointed by this thing, I think it is a better solution. It's still a stopgap. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe they'll end up being cool. Like, I honestly don't know. Again, I've looked at the handful of ones we've seen. I've looked at Mistweavers. I've looked at Resto Druids, and okay. I think the Mistweaver one is better than the Resto Druid one in my mind. I think it's a really, like, design wise, you don't have to spend the 4 extra spec talents you get on them, but they are kind of heavily incentivizing you to do so.
Yeah.
But like, the way it works is that there are 4 and you have 1, and then you have to spend 2 to get to unlock the last node in the 4, which is, I think, the most powerful. So it's kind of like an all or nothing thing. Like, there's no way within the system, I think, to like, I'm going to put 1 point in the Apex talents and then spend my other 3 back in my spec tree, because like, the capstone makes the initial Apex talent so much more powerful that if you're going to spend the point to get the one thing, you might as well get them all.
Yeah.
But then there's a situation like Resto Druids are talking right now about, like, maybe in Raid, the Life Bloom talent thing is just not going to bring enough benefit in a Raid situation. Like, it does splash damage. It causes Life Bloom to do splash damage, but that's not going to be enough, I don't think, to the point where, like, if there are talents that make like Rejuve and Wild Growth way better that you could access because you have 4 extra talents in the spec tree, then suddenly you're doing that. And if that's the case, like, right, if that's the case, that like, if I walk into the Raid, we have this new Apex talents and I can't even take them because they're just not good for that style of healing, that's going to feel like a big bummer.
Yeah. Yeah. I do think, like, if they're going to implement it, and even though you have the choice to take it or not, it's going to be a pretty big miss if they design it in a way that people aren't going to take it.
Yeah.
Like, that almost feels like they just did nothing. And that's going to be really bad if, like, you're one of like 5 specs who just doesn't take their Apex talent, because you're going to be like, this just blows. Like, this just fucking blows.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Let's hope that's not the way it shakes out. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I wanted to briefly talk about with you is the small changes to the gearing system that are coming in Midnight. So I think they announced that they're simplifying and smoothing out the upgrade system. And essentially what this ended up meaning is all of the current names of the crests are going away, and the crests are just going to be named after whatever track of gear you have. So if you have a heroic piece, the way you upgrade as a heroic piece to the max level on a track is with heroic crests. If you have a myth track piece, the way you upgrade that piece is with myth crests, and that's it. That's all you have to worry about. It does make it easier. It has an interesting side effect where I think you're going to ultimately need more of the heroic level crests than you did before, because heroic gear as it stands right now, the first 4 of 6 levels you do that with ruined crests, and then the last 2 levels you do that with gilded crests, and that's going away. It's just going to be the ruined crests for all of it, which are heroic crests now. So you're going to need a little bit more. I think it does also do this thing. It fixes a thing where, I don't know if you ever experienced this, but like you get a heroic piece to 4 out of 6, and then actually it makes more sense to stop there and
Yep.
wait till you get a myth track item in that slot, because a myth track item will be one upgrade higher, and then so you basically save 15 gilded crests. Now you could in the new system you could still do that. The myth track item will still be one upgrade higher, but you're not saving myth crests by doing that, because
Yep.
you would just be you would still be saving crests, but you would not be saving the best crest, which is the one that everyone's going to be seeking. So you're slightly more incentivized to upgrade your heroic stuff to max right away, which I actually like that, because I do think it's a little clunky that you get to 4 out of 6 and you're like, oh, gotta wait till I get myth track. If I want to be most efficient and not waste crests, I gotta wait till I get a myth item in this slot. I think that's a little weird and I don't like it. So if this fixes that problem, I'm like, okay, cool. I like that.
Yeah, I like this just for the sheer fact of like, no longer am I going to have to explain to people what crests go with what gear.
It was
to be
like,
completely
and
honest.
this is, it's kind of ridiculous to me that it took this long to get to this point, that they like introduced this system. And even in season 2 of Dragonflight, the names were different and they hadn't settled on the names. And then in season 3, they decided to make the names change too. So you're like, wait, what? And then it wasn't until the War Within that they said, okay, no, we're going to do this runed, gilded. That's going to stay the same every time. And so that's going to be the easiest thing to digest. But like, the easiest thing to digest is just be like, we already have the names of tracks, just make the crests match the track. And that's what they're doing.
I also think that I'm a little excited about this because you like, I don't know. I feel like for an alt who joins the season extremely late, like you're still going to be in the situation where like, if you're wanting to do the highest level keys that you can do, you're probably not getting ruined crests. And so you either have to cap and then get the rune crests, or you have to go do content you don't want to do to get rune crests.
Sure.
And so like, I feel like you're still in this situation of like turmoil when it comes to that. Like I don't know how you fix this, right? Because my gut feeling is if you're doing a 12 or whatever they decide is going to be the cutoff for getting these myth track crests, I almost feel like you should just get every crest below that as a reward as well. Like, I don't think that it should stop being one and become the other. I think it should have that in addition to, is like my gut feeling. But then like I sit there and I think like, okay, well now you're kind of penalized for not just doing the highest level thing. And not everybody wants to do that. So like, I don't know. I feel kind of like back and forth and wishy-washy on this, but it does kind of scare me a little bit that we are probably increasing the amount of rune crests you need to do, and having like just swapped over a character a couple of weeks ago and still being like 200 plus crests off the cap and staring down the barrel of an uncapped crests situation. It scares me a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's very understandable. I think this is always going to be a little bit of a problem. I don't know the exact. My gut reaction to you saying, "Oh, maybe you get all the crests below it too," is like, "Oh man, no one's ever going to do low keys then."
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, maybe something similar to that. I don't know. I think the other weird thing is like, I don't know how crafting is going to work with this. That's one thing they haven't answered yet. Is like right now you get crafting gear to its highest level by using gilded crests if they just take that to by using myth crests. Because of I believe that they've said that myth crests will not start dropping in keys until a 9 or higher. And of course, Mythic Raid, those are the only places you're going to be able to get myth crests, is a 9 or higher dungeon or raid. That essentially means that if you are a player that like does delves or whatever, and you still want high level gear, like right now in the War Within, you can do that, right? You do. It'll take a little bit longer, but if you do nothing but delves, you can get enough crests to make to craft a 720 item right now. Also, you can do sevens in Mythic Plus, right? You can do that as well, and you will be able to craft a 720 item. If they make crafting just myth track, then you have changed that pretty dramatically. You have lowered the amount of gear that people can get, or force them to do harder stuff, and you've taken that gear away from delve players. Delve players can now no longer get that a max crafted item at all. And I mean, maybe that's not a big deal ultimately. I feel like it's a problem of once you've given someone something, taking it away feels really, really bad. And so even if like it's okay for the health of the game that people doing a delve level content cannot get crafted best level stuff, you already made a decision at one point that they could, and you're just going to piss people off. So again, I don't know what the solution to that is, but I definitely would like to hear what they're doing with crafting in general, because as we talked about a few weeks ago, the fact that so many of your slots are just like taken up by crafted things, that just like the fact that you get a weapon in week 2 or week 4, depending on what type of weapon, and then you're just kind of done for the season with weapons, is a little weird. And maybe they need to look at that. And I also think what are they called? The enhancements on them. I'm forgetting the name, but the embellishments. Thank you. I also think those are kind of lame too. And
they could probably just go away at this point.
Yeah. I mean, it's like they don't want them to be too good, because every time they're too good, they nerf them. So they kind of nerf them into being just okay. Like it's like this game where it's like good enough that you want to take that over a max myth item, just at least in 2 slots to get your 2 embellishments, but never like good. And it's a weird little middle ground they're playing with there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it also just kind of feels bad if you don't have them.
Yeah.
Again, like when you go to make your first item, like you're gonna put an embellishment on it, even if it isn't the highest item level thing that you make, and then you have to go and figure all of that out. So yeah, it's definitely weird. I think I'm kind of in the camp at this point. I'd be okay if they just went away. But
I'd be for that.
But yeah, all right. Well, anything else that you wanted to cover as a part of Crest stuff? I feel like you really outlined the 2 biggest concerns here, and that's going to be people who primarily do delves and crafting. Outside of that, I think all in all, like for clarity's sake, this is obviously an extremely good change. And anybody who's playing on a main, I don't think that this is going to make you literally any different.
No,
so
not at all. No, that's all I had. Of course, there's still stuff coming out every day. It seems like they're doing a weekly cadence for new builds in alpha. Maybe that'll change. Like we only have two points of data to look at right now. That the alpha came out 2 weeks ago, and then last week a new build came out of the next phase. So maybe that will continue. I don't know.
Yeah, if they do, that'd be pretty cool. And there's a lot of content in this alpha. So
I have to say, the troll zone looks sweet as hell. I'm pretty excited about the troll zone, and I want to just like make my declarative statement right now. I think the 0.1 patch is going to be a troll raid. I think we're going to bring troll raids back. You can't have a whole troll zone and then not do a troll raid, is my current opinion. I don't know. I have no idea what the raid is going to be, or where it would be, or anything like that, but I just have a feeling.
Scott's also going to be a troll once they come out.
No, I'm going to be a wild elf. Apparently that's what apparently on the alpha right now they have like It's kind of like a thing for mounts, but for your decorations in your house. Just like it lists all the ones you've collected and the ones you haven't yet. And for all the Haranir related stuff, it calls them wild elves instead of Haranir, because maybe that was like the early dev name for them, and then they changed it to something else. I just think
Yeah,
that's
but elves are just trolls.
look, man. Nobody knows what anything is in this world. It's all made
You're
up.
just gonna be a little vampire troll. It's okay.
Dude, have you seen the forms?
Yeah, you're gonna be running around as like a pangolin and
That's
everything like that.
hilarious. Yes, I have to do it.
All right, Scott, we're going a little over time. So what do you say we wrap things up here?
Sounds good to me.
All right. So my biggest question for you guys is going to be primarily about the dungeons that we got revealed. So I want to know what you guys think about the list of dungeons that we have for Midnight. And that's it. I mean, pretty simple question this week. So as always, contact us over at yellingintothevoidwow@gmail.com. YouTube is at yellingintothevoidwow, and Twitter and Blue Sky are both at intothevoidwow.
And if you would like to make sure you don't miss any episodes, we're asking you right now to please subscribe to the podcast wherever podcasts can be found. Gosh, we are everywhere. Apple, Spotify, everything that takes those two sources as well, which is everything. YouTube as well. Just please make sure you subscribe. You don't want to miss it. We're going to get into alpha, I promise you. Actually, if enough of you subscribe, we will get into alpha. Ian just texted me while we were talking, and he said, "Ooh, you're a little low on the sub numbers. So see if you can do something about that." So you folks can help us get into alpha, which is good for everyone because it makes me happy.
That's true. We just have to have more subs than Dorky, and we'll be able to get into alpha.
How many subs does Dorky have?
I don't know, but he didn't get invited on the first day. So
Are we
need more
talking
than that.
YouTube subs or?
I feel like it's probably more Twitch viewership when we talk about Dorky.
Okay, well, we don't have. Yeah, but I'm just saying if you're then you're comparing apples to oranges, and that's not fair. So let me just.
Who do we go off of? You want to go off of our good old friend Bellular?
Oh fuck. Do I want? Fuck no. I'll say that. Okay, so Dorky currently has 52,000 subscribers to his YouTube page. All right, we have. Let's see right here. Yeah, we have less than that. So if y'all could help us get 51,800 subscribers, that'd be great.
It'd be pretty good.
Yeah.
Maybe target tomorrow. We can get it done by tomorrow.
I just hit the dramatic piano button on our recorder. So it's playing some dramatic piano music, which actually was perfect for the moment. So you're welcome.
I didn't even realize that was happening. And then I heard it and I was like, that's
very
interesting.
dramatic.
But all right, guys, last thing is please consider liking, like Scott said, subscribing and commenting on YouTube, on Spotify, anywhere you're listening. All of that helps us get more exposure, introduces it to new people, and allows us to potentially get into alpha. So yeah, keep that in mind. If you want us to talk about things that are, maybe a little more vague that we might have access to in alpha, we gotta get those sub numbers up.
Just think of how many spoiler sections we could have if we were actually playing the alpha things.
We're just gonna have to put a huge spoiler on every single episode that we release if that happens. So, but all right, guys, enough joking around. Until next week, we'll be over here yelling into the void.
Bye-bye.